Most of you missed the fact that Neriv Heart of the Storm doesn't say combat damage. Most folks look at Neriv and want to build a haste-focused deck, and while that's part of this commander, I think you're missing the bigger part. Neriv is a 4-mana Mardu Spirit Dragon. This 4/5 has flying and reads, if a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. And like I said, this not saying combat damage does a lot of heavy lifting, since it takes into account any damage a creature does when it enters. This puts creatures like Fear of Burning Alive and Red Dragon in incredible positions, as they do 4 damage to each opponent on enters, doubled to 8. It doesn't take much to make that lethal, so let's look at what it would take to make that lethal in today's deck. But first, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a brew, and like this video for more strange decks. Now, seeing that Neriv doubles any damage a creature that entered the battlefield this turn would deal had me plunge through the depths of MOXFIELD to find any creature that dealt damage on enters. And I found some good smaller creatures like Stormcaller, Goblin Chainwhirler, and Daggercaster that can pick off a lot of creatures and deal some damage to opponents, as Neriv doubles the damage done to anything a creature would deal, not just players. Which makes Flametongue Yearling, Flametongue Kavu, and Fury all amazing removal options in a deck like this, as on enters they deal 8 or more damage to creatures and can pick off big threats on the table on their own. But damage to players is what's going to win us games, with big scaling bombs like Gruesome Scourger, Exocrine, and Fanatic of Mogus, all able to take players out entirely on a single enters trigger when doubled. Potentially high-scaling sources like Sunspire Lynx, Anethamancer, and Cleaving Skyrider can all be surprise game enders for opponents that get low enough. Just be sure your life total is high enough that some of these symmetrical damaging effects don't take you out too. But a surprising number of dragons also deal damage on enters, like Demanding Dragon if an opponent won't sacrifice a creature, Thundermaw Hellkite with haste naturally to not only take care of any flyers with 2 or fewer toughness, but also immediately swing in for 10 damage, and Scourge of Valkis, which can deal damage the more dragons you have in play. But it's because of these dragons and our commander that Dragon Tempest makes the list too, not only giving them haste so they can attack and immediately get double combat damage, but because the enters trigger causes your dragons to deal damage to any target rather than the enchantment. Another source Neriv doubles since the effect only doubles a creature's damage. And that's where we want to get crazy, because Pandemonium and Warstorm Surge are both worded the same way. On enters, these enchantments let the creatures be the source of damage rather than the enchantment, getting doubled by our commander. While Pandemonium works for everyone, Warstorm Surge just works for our creatures, which can really tip the scales fast. Scales, again! It's from here where we can lean on White's Blinking to get more and more use of these creatures entering. Ephemerate and Cloud Shift are just a start, allowing us to get these enters effects over and over. Teleportation Circle, Conjurer's Closet, and Nahiri's Resolve all get us reusable blink effects to make the most of our creatures entering, with Nahiri's Resolve being able to blink most of, if not all of, our board. Just like Eerie Interlude, Lae'zel's Acrobatics, or Semester's End, blinking our whole board and letting us get all of these enters effects over and over again. And it goes without mentioning that Panharmonicon can get us these effects twice, making for twice as much damage doubled. That's a double-double for all my fellow Canadians. But we can go beyond with a double or triple to that too. The Roller Crusher Ride and Wound Reflection both get us permanent ways to double up on damaging effects to all of our opponents, where a Sawhorn Nemesis can double up on damage from any source to a single opponent, and a Fiery Emancipation can triple damage done too. Anytime something lets us add a multiplier to damage, we must do our best to multiply that multiplier, meaning we must have some good and healthy ways to give our creatures haste, as just attacking with a haste creature will also double its combat damage. All 3 boots, Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot boots, and Lava Spur boots, can give individual creatures haste and some protection, but giving all of our creatures haste with a Rising of the Day while making Neriv 1 power bigger is a great start too. And Gimli's Reckless Might is a new one to my collection, as it not only gives all of our creatures haste, but lets them fight if we attack with 8 or more power at a time. If we choose a creature that entered this turn, well, that fight damage is doubled too. Now I've built this deck very red skewing, as it's most of red's creatures that deal damage on enters like Turret Ogre, Combustible Gear Hulk, and even Voldaran Epicure. That makes over 50% of the non-land cards in this 3-color deck mono red. So all of our non-basic lands really need to make red mana, and all of our mana rocks need to make red mana. If they don't, then they aren't going to ensure we can cast the vast majority of our deck. Be mindful of your color balance and use MOXFIELD's deck building tools to help figure out your spread of color producing lands. This deck, linked in the description, is built as a no-budget bracket 3 deck with game changers like the One Ring, Trouble in Pairs, and Jeska's Will, helping patch some of the gaps in ongoing card draw or big mana generation. But this deck could easily be turned into a bracket 2 deck by removing some of the more oppressive cards and focusing on common or uncommon creatures that enter and deal damage. If you've been noodling with an idea for a brew like this, be sure to let me know in the comments, along with what your must-have cards for a Neriv deck are. You can check out my list, linked at my sponsor, MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world, and makes it easy to build decks to specific brackets thanks to their built-in automated bracket detection tools. Never misjudge your decks again, and be sure to follow my profile to never miss any of my brews. If you want to pick up any of the cards for this list, be sure to go to Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC now for 5% off your orders from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only one shipping fee. Save money and time today. And if you want to sell off your cards, whether they be unused or just duplicates, go to Card Conduit. If you're selling out of anything from Pokemon to Star Wars to Magic, get premium rates for your cards. Ship them unsorted today and get a check in the mail. If you were inspired to brew, you have to hit that subscribe button. Be a gem and check out some of the other videos on the channel right now too. And as always, good luck and have fun!